Hey, welcome.
Hey.
Welcome to the Voxology Podcast.
Oh,
Timothy John Stafford making an appearance at the Pour Over in Auburn, California.
poor choice.
Poor choice, sorry. I get all my coffee and wine metaphors mixed up.
Coffee shops are kind of like churches with how they name themselves.
Oh, so true. This is a coffee shop?
Yeah.
And you're playing when?
Tomorrow, Saturday night.
Okay, so when this
2 days
comes
ago,
out
once
Monday,
you listen to this, yeah.
yeah, you will already have done it.
I've already shredded.
What do you open with?
I open with just looping myself playing guitar to kind of like let everybody know, like, hey, you're about to have some music you don't want to listen to.
Oh, nice.
And then they ease in. And then I open singing with Long Black Veil.
Sing that one? What's that one?
It's, what is his name? Lefty Frizzell was the original writer,
Okay.
but Johnny Cash kind of made it famous.
Oh,
She Walks
okay.
These Hills in the Long Black Veil. It's about like
Of course.
getting framed for murder, but you didn't want to use your alibi because your alibi was that you were having an affair with your best friend's wife.
Okay. Okay. So that's kind of sets a tone for a family establishment.
Totally.
I like it. Oh, that's so good, dude. And like, so you play what, an hour? How do they
2 hours
straight?
every time. Yeah, I'll take like a 5-minute break in the middle,
Yeah.
but it's a lot. Yeah,
Dang.
it's a long set.
It is a long set. 2 hours, dude, averaging what, 4 minutes a song?
Yeah,
That's
it's-
a lot.
Yeah.
What
Yep.
would you say? I mean, I know it's funny. I forget that we're recording sometimes because I'm like, well, so what would you say like the highlight of the set is? What's your best, if you're trying out for America's Got Talent or something, from that set list, what
I
do
have
you
a
put
song
forward?
called, or it's tentatively called The Morning After.
Oh,
It's a big vocal stretch.
okay.
And I always
So
gets
that's an
reactions
original.
from people. Yeah.
Oh,
It's
'cause
mostly
you do-
originals.
You do mostly originals.
Oh, yeah.
Nice. Bro. And you got
Yep.
merch?
Nope.
Okay, that's good.
No merch.
That's good. Okay. But they
I
can
have some
find people.
pins somewhere where I put my head on Luke Skywalker's body and made pins, but I don't know where
That's
they
great.
are.
Yeah. Well, you're definitely on it for sure
Yeah.
on the merch side.
I'm a well-oiled machine.
I love that, dude. And are people pretty accommodating once they, get used
Yeah.
to someone there playing guitar?
You'll see them when you walk in with all your gear and they're like, oh,
Oh, come on.
I was here to hang out with my friends and talk, and
Yeah.
now this jabroni's going to start singing.
Yeah.
And I apologize, and then I start playing, and then I'll win them over. It becomes like a challenge, though. Like, you want to win them.
Yeah.
And if you do it, you feel good. If you don't, you feel like a jukebox that they want turned down. That's the worst.
Do you take requests?
Nope, but people sure ask for them.
What's the most frequently?
It's always something so random.
Oh,
Someone came up after I played for like 2 hours and like, can you play this one song by the Cars? And I was like, no, I don't know that song.
oh my goodness. All right. Well, I know that's a rabbit trail that our listeners were not expecting,
That's right.
but I like it.
You're welcome.
And I would certainly be at a coffee shop if you were going to be there.
That's right. It's a tap takeover. Some brewery is taking over their beer taps and doing like the thing, selling all their beer.
So this isn't a coffee shop. This is a brewery.
It is, but they sell beer and wine also, and food. They have good food.
So let me ask you a question. At what point does it cease becoming a coffee shop and is a restaurant? You know what I mean?
They don't have you don't
Seems
sit
like
down
there
at
should be a
tables and
line.
order food. You stand in line and order from the counter like you do at a.
Okay.
And it started with just coffee, but they have their chef there is he just got a Michelin star.
Ooh. Oh, yeah.
So he's a really good, well-respected, well-known chef, and the
Nice.
food's really good.
Nice.
And the coffee's really good. And
Okay.
the beer's really good.
Okay. And the music's good. We know that.
That's right. Come one,
Okay.
come all. Go back in time once you hear this.
Yes. Just
Come
think
hang
about
out.
what you missed right now.
Yeah.
Kids, think about
Let's just
what
have a
you
moment
missed.
of silence for what you missed.
Yeah. Yeah. You could have, whatever you ended up doing Saturday night, think about it right now and compare it to what you could have been doing.
That's right.
We have Parents' Weekend at Hannah's College. And so my daughter is in a sorority. And so I'm now a sorority dad. Right. And I get to go to a sorority mixer for Parents' Weekend.
I would love to be a fly on the wall for that.
Well, let's just say I'm going to find one or two people and then just kind of stick there. You know what I mean? We're tailgating for a Western Kentucky football game and talking about sororities. So
how exciting.
Yeah, I have zero to say on either of those topics. So I don't know and my wife is such an introvert, like she'll just go hide out somewhere. So it's up to me. I mean, I've got a Carius, which man, that is a sinking ship. I'm
more on your wife's boat. I can sit comfortably in a corner and not care if anyone.
Yeah.
Problem is, I also don't care if it makes it awkward for other people. That's the part I'm working on.
See, Hannah, our daughter, she'll want me to meet all of her sorority sisters and their parents. So I've got to come up with like some witty repartee. Yeah. And sometimes
but when you're out in the wild like that and you're meeting people and like, oh, what do you do? And you're like, I'm a pastor. How does that go?
No, I never say that. I never say that. Talk about just ending conversations. So I say I'm a teacher and a podcaster.
There you go.
And they'll say, well, what do you podcast about? And I'll say like faith and politics, or faith and doubt, or something
faith
like
and culture.
Faith. Oh, that's even a better one than faith and politics. Yeah. And then they'll say, oh, I'd love to listen to it. I'm like, no, you really wouldn't, actually.
You're a great marketer.
We're definitely an acquired taste. I used to do like, well, yeah, it's for the gospel's sake. I need to tell people I'm a pastor. And now it's for the gospel's sake that I don't.
Dude, I just had that conversation this morning about like old ways of thinking, and how to reframe, because everything leads to questions where it's like, with that, it's like, okay, well, what's your definition of the gospel? Yeah. What's your definition of sin? Like it's like this daisy chain of questions that kind of it can't just be one thing. It becomes this larger daisy chain of things. And it's like, you have to define all of those before you can make a real big claim about something.
Well, and I don't want people to put whatever defenses they have up that early.
Which are rightful defenses.
In a lot of
rooted
cases.
In something, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, I don't, even like one of my neighbors, we have this incredible, so he is an indigenous American, with a family of 11 kids, not all of them biological. And he came over and we just sat on our front porch and talked for an hour. And he's trying to pin me down, and there's part of me that's
like, to understand who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. He wasn't wrestling you.
Well, I no, not at this point. I hope
someday you'll get there.
Maybe, we don't know. But it's just hard to know, because there's sometimes people will find out I'm a pastor, and then they'll read like either negative assumptions or, oh yeah, you agree with me that like we hate immigrants,
right?
Or
totally.
You know what I mean, like. Yeah. And so it rarely leads anywhere profitable. Whereas, we talk about faith and culture, or faith and politics, or faith and doubt. That'll go somewhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I don't know. I mean, I could just sit in a place called like The Poor Choice and just say, hey, I'm a pastor, ask me anything. And, that would be interesting for sure.
Maybe I'll change my set to just that.
Yeah. Hey, I'm a Christian.
I decided against the music, guys. Let's just talk about
totally
faith and culture.
Yeah. And I don't want to hide that part of my life, but I want it to be received in the spirit, that doesn't like set people on edge. You know what I mean? And so it's a hard...
While a lot of my opinions on things like Young Life have changed over the years, there is still that mission statement, which I don't fully agree with anymore, but like just the idea of winning the right to be heard, at least with the idea that you're actually investing in somebody before you just start preaching to them.
Yeah. Yeah. And the one thing I would, and I know you would too, add to that is we're not, the goal of our relationship isn't to be heard.
Yes.
The goal of our relationship is to listen and to learn and to receive the other as a blessing and a gift.
Yep.
So I would, that whole era of our Christian lives about, because I do. I want everyone to follow Jesus. I think he's remarkable, and I think it's the best way to be human, for sure. But the idea that that I am standing over somebody with the answer, and they need what I have, that just creates all sorts of weird dynamics that I don't see that are very Jesus-y.
Yeah,
you know what
it makes
I mean?
you the savior.
Yeah, or it just puts me in a situation where they're lucky to have me.
Totally.
And my job is just to speak the truth and, then hang up the phone or whatever.
I did it.
So, yeah. We wrote a statement on, human sexuality, posted it on our website. Bam, we're done. We don't have to disciple anybody. We don't have to answer hard questions. We don't have to. Yeah. So anyway, I don't know where we got on that, but look at us go, Tim. So now that we've whittled down listenership to maybe, a hardcore 12 listeners.
Welcome 12.
Yes.
It's a holy number.
Well, it absolutely is what Jesus did with 12, right? And we're not, of course, Jesus, but 12 is a great...
Back to being the Messiah.
Oh, dang it. I can't help it. We were at our pastor's, we call it a non-friends for ministry leaders back in May. And I remember the spiritual director, Vanessa, said something like, hey, you were all groomed to be in ministry. Like that idea that somehow our worth and value and significance is needing to be needed and, being kind of a savior or a hero or whatever. I just was like, oh, Lord, that's so true. That speaks, dang. So, because there are parts of like the idea that we carry the name of God with us and are invited to represent him well or faithfully, maybe is a better way to say that. And I still find all of that like compelling.
Yeah.
But I couldn't unhook it from the idea that it was all up to me. There was pressure, and the goal was to get them to pray a prayer or something, as opposed
the why
to just,
is important.
Well,
and the how.
The why affects the how.
Yeah.
So if the why is to get them to pray a prayer, then my how is, I'm gonna earn the right to be heard.
That's what I mean about the daisy chain. Like you start to ask these questions to clarify the intent of a statement or an action.
Yeah.
And you start to see how linked all these things are. That you can't just make a cold blanket thing. Like everything is bigger than that.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's Jesus did that a lot, would connect things and sometimes answer questions with questions that would connect one question to a different, something larger or something in tandem, or I don't know. It just always painting a larger picture than just like a blanket statement or accusation or something.
Right. Yeah. That guy.
Which is compelling. It makes it feel like it's bigger than just like an exclusive club that you have to figure out the membership to.
Right.
It's like, oh, this is about humanity and creation and everything. Mm-hmm. That's compelling.
Come on.
That's the national park.
We love Gombas. Great metaphor.
It really is.
You know who
got
else?
A lot of mileage out of it.
You know who else loves Gombas? The Lamb.
The Lamb?
Who was slain.
Oh, they're talking about a radio station. Sounds like a radio station.
That's funny. 88.7, The Lamb.
Exactly.
Oh my goodness.
So it's funny, I was just watching a trailer for someone's making a documentary and they're trying to crowdsource money for it. And so I saw the trailer on Twitter last night or whatever Twitter's called.
Twix.
And it's interviewing like people like Crystal Lewis, who I know you know, and like Lee Nash, who was the lead singer of Sixpence, None the Richer, and like all these people that were from that era of Christian music, who have all since like been kind of left that genre. It was interesting. Just kind of they were just showing little clips of these guys talking about kind of that industry and whatever. So I think it should be interesting for those of us that grew up in the 90s Christian. You know, that was a big time, probably the biggest time period for that.
What will people think when they hear that I'm a Jesus freak?
Exactly.
What will they do when they find out it's true? And for anybody under 30 still listening, of the 12,
down to 2.
Totally. It is. I mean, because I don't want to reject all of that, because it brought me here, which I'm delighted about, you know, and, but what it's done is it's made me, I don't know if this is true for you, but because I talk Christian, you know, for my job, it's just made me so sensitive to like cliche 100%. And cheese and, you know, just like,
I work so hard to not fall into rhetorical language because it's just ingrained, and so much of the church for so long just spoke in these kind of prescribed things. It's like that, if anything doesn't feel real, it's prefabricated messages.
Right.
And so it's like, man, there's no blood in that.
Right.
So it was interesting. I went and like this morning I went and dug up Jennifer Knapp CD and was just listening to it this morning and being like, because man, she had a roller coaster of a, you know, career and life after that kind of boom. Because she was kind of one of the first artists that was making authentic music.
I never really was into.
I worked at the Christian bookstore when she popped. My job was when the parents came in and said like, my son wants to listen to this. Can you give me something better or something?
But you wouldn't do it.
No, I couldn't. I said, just let them listen to Smashing Pumpkins. They're a much better band.
Yeah. I did. I will say.
They got fired.
Shocker. Shocker. I will say Stryper made an impression when they arrived in my. No, thankfully I didn't see them in concert, but I was like, whoa, this is actually good, like heavy metal music.
Well, I remember my parents buying me a Petra tape.
Oh, wow.
Petra means rock, because it literally does.
Yep. That's wow. So anyway, now that Tim and I have caught up, this is what our conversations sound like when it's just like the two of us hanging out. Welcome to the Voxology podcast.
Again.
Today, we are going to look at the Lamb who loves Gombas.
Oh.
That was the tie-in there. That was my attempted, you know, bridge. And if you listen to us, if you're still listening, you should probably want to put this on like 1.2 speed. You know, we need to make up some time here. But last episode, we were in Revelation 4. And of course, we all know that the chapter divisions and the verse numbers were added much later. So there's just one vision, the first of 7 in Revelation 4 and 5. And it's fascinating because 4 and 5 parallel each other. The first one is talking about the worthiness of the one who sits on the throne, a very Jewish way of describing God, pulled from Old Testament imagery. And then now we're going to meet the Lamb who was slain. And so many of the things that were said about the one who sits on the throne are going to be said now about the Lamb who was slain. And there's some pretty deep theological implications about that. So I actually have a lot for us today, Timothy.
Gird your loins.
I mean, boom. And remember, this is all in direct response to the messages given to the churches in chapters 2 and 3. This is not some other thing. This is exactly, the churches have been told, and invited to overcome. And we've talked in a much earlier episode about overcome as victory military language. It's to be victorious. And how Rome, Nike was the goddess of victory, and Rome kind of honored victory as one of its supreme values, and defined it as, in purely political or military terms. And so these little churches have been invited to be victorious and using the same word, but this is the first image that we're given, not first, but the first central image that we're given of what like victory looks like when you follow this Jesus. So I'm going to read chapter 5 and then we'll go over it more slowly. So a door opens in chapter 4. I see one who sits on the throne. Then I saw the right hand of him who sits on the throne, and he had a scroll with writing on both sides and sealed with 7 seals. And a mighty angel proclaimed in a loud voice, "Who is worthy to break the seals and open the scroll?" But no one in heaven or on earth or under the earth could open the scroll or even look inside it. I wept, and I wept because no one was found to be worthy to open the scroll or look inside. Then one of the elders said to me, again, one of the elders, one of the 24 thrones around the living creatures who's around the central throne. One of the elders said to me, "Do not weep. See, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the root of David, has triumphed, has been victorious. He is able to open the scroll and its 7 seals." Then I saw a lamb, looking as if it had been slain, standing at the center of the throne, encircled by the 4 living creatures and the elders. The Lamb had 7 horns and 7 eyes, which are the 7 spirits of God sent out into all the earth. He went and he took the scroll from the right hand of him who sat on the throne. And when he'd taken it, the 4 living creatures and the 24 elders fell down before the Lamb. Each one had a harp, and they were holding golden bowls full of incense, which are the prayers of God's people. And they sang a new song. Anytime you hear about a new song, this is from Exodus. This is an Exodus motif. "You are worthy to take the scroll, to open its seals, because you were slain. And with your blood you purchased for God persons from every tribe and language and people and nation. You have made them to be a kingdom and priests to serve our God, and they will reign on the earth." Then I looked, and I heard the voice of many angels, numbering thousands upon thousands and 10,000 times 10,000. They encircled the throne and the living creatures and the elders, and in a loud voice they were saying, "Worthy is the Lamb who was slain, to receive honor and wealth and wisdom and strength and glory and honor and praise." Then I heard every creature in heaven and on earth and under the earth and on the sea and all that is in them, saying, "To him who sits on the throne and to the Lamb be praise and honor and glory and power forever and ever." The 4 living creatures said, "Amen," and the elders fell down and worshipped. So let's march through this a little more purposefully. The scroll, lots of guesses about what the scroll means or represents. We have examples of like Roman wills, like when you die and you leave a will, your last will and testament, that would have writing on both sides and be sealed with seals. I mean, that could be a scroll. It could be a parody, remember, of Domitian, who would hold a scroll in his right hand with verdicts and edicts and commands or whatever else. But the scroll turns out to be a very Old Testament image. And when you get into the Old Testament prophetic literature, you will often hear about, like in Daniel, seal up the words of this scroll and save it for later because the time isn't yet. Or in Isaiah or in Ezekiel, you'll read about scrolls. And so I'm convinced, particularly as we'll see about how the events in the scroll unfold, that the scroll is, it represents the Old Testament vision found in all of the prophets about how God's kingdom will come here fully on earth as it is in heaven. which is what Daniel primarily is concerned about. So the scroll is a symbol of the authority to guide human history to its conclusion. Okay? And the authority to take the scroll from God and to open its seals sets in motion repeated judgments against the false kingdoms of the world that will ultimately lead to an ultimate judgment. But that isn't just the only judgment in view. As one of the things we're going to introduce maybe next episode is something called the Day of the Lord, which is both a singular day and an archetype of days when empires are judged. And so what we're going to see in chapter 6 is just a bunch of, as the seals are open, chapter 6, 7, 8, 9, we're just going to see Day of the Lord motifs over and over and over again. And so the scroll and opening the scroll represents the authority of the Lamb to not just bring judgment over the corrupt empires of the world, but to bring about his kingdom in all of its fullness into the world. So that in chapter 11, and this is a great line from Handel's Messiah, the kingdoms of the world have become the kingdoms of our Christ. And that's the goal. That's what the scroll represents, is how that is going to happen. Make sense?
Yes.
So, and the thing that's so funny, of course, is the question, who is worthy to break the seals and open the scroll? But no one in heaven or on earth could open it. No one was found worthy. Now, again, when you're drenched in Caesar worship, and perhaps there are coins or temple art or something that shows Domitian holding a scroll, to just say that there was no one on earth worthy to open that sucker. I mean, that really is saying something. That is a political statement, that even Caesar, the most powerful human, is not worthy to open the scroll. And so I wept because it was going to go unfulfilled. And then one of the elders said, so this is something he hears. One of the motifs that John is going to repeat over and over and over and over and over all throughout the book. And it's one of the ways he draws attention to specific things, is he will hear one thing and then he will look and see a different thing. And that idea between him seeing and then him looking is designed to bridge or to build contrast between the thing that he hears and the thing that he sees that drive us into new revelation.
Yeah.
All right? This is the most famous of these examples. So then one of the elders said to me, so he's hearing this, "Do not weep. See, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the Root of David, has triumphed." Now, we got to go into these titles because they connotate something very specific to the Jewish imagination. They connotate military conquest. All right? So, Genesis 49, this is when Jacob is blessing each of his children. And he says, Judah, right? This Judah, before Judah was a tribe, Judah was a person. And in the Old Testament conception, blessing was when the patriarch would speak destiny over the children. And so in this case, Judah, your brothers will praise you. Your hand will be on the neck of your enemies. Now, David comes from Judah, and so the picture here is that there's a military prowess in Judah. Your father's sons will bow down to you. In other words, the brothers will all be second to Judah. You are a lion's cub. In other words, you're going to grow into a lion. You return from the prey, my son. Like a lion, he crouches and lies down. Like a lioness, who dares rouse him? Like the picture is that he is like danger to be aroused, right? You don't want to poke the bear, kind of, so to speak. The scepter, the ruling scepter, all right, will not depart from Judah, nor the ruler's staff from between his feet, until he to come, until he to whom it belongs shall come, and the obedience of the nations shall be his. So a bunch of different imagery, but the idea is there's some sort of military prowess. Judah is going to be at the forefront of the tribes of Israel, and from Judah will come a ruler who will rule over the nations, and that rulership will be like denoted with some sort of staff or scepter. All right, so when you say Lion of the tribe of Judah in Revelation, we're going back 4,000 years, right, to this picture that the one who's worthy to open the scroll is the one that has now come, that to whom the scepter belongs. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? And so Lion of the tribe of Judah is a militaristic, nationalistic image of kingship. It's the idea. Now, then we read about the root of David. And of course, David is the most famous member of the tribe of Judah. And some of this was thought to be in reference to David. Isaiah 11, verse 1, begins with, a shoot will come up from the stump of Jesse. Jesse is David's father. So the picture is that the lineage has been dead. It's been cut off, but now there's new life in this lineage. And from his roots, a branch will bear fruit, and branch is capitalized. In other words, it's in reference to a person. Out of this lineage will come new life. And then 9 verses later, it says, in that day, the root of Jesse will stand as a banner for the peoples. The nations, again, the nations are in view, will rally to him, and his resting place will be glorious. Now, by the time of Jesus, these images, the Lion of the tribe of Judah and the root of David, these were conquesting, militaristic images about the Messianic king who would come and rule the nations from the throne of Israel.
Yeah. No wonder they're disappointed.
Right. Because exactly right. But we need to just get a glimpse of how important these images would have been to the Jewish imagination. Because remember, for them, salvation also included the taking of Israel's enemies and overcoming them, being victorious over them, expunging them from the land and purifying the land and the temple and so on. So, yeah, man. So he hears that the Lion of the tribe of Judah and the root of David has triumphed. Like this thing we've been waiting for, this victory, this in military terms, it's happening right now. And then in verse 6, John says, then I turned and I saw a lamb. So he hears about the lion and the root, but he sees a lamb looking as if it had been slain. And slain here isn't just sacrifice, but its life was taken, like violently.
Yeah.
And the lamb was standing at the center of the throne, encircled by the 4 living creatures and the elders. Now, we just met someone on the throne who was encircled by 4 living creatures and the elders, right? God Almighty, the Ancient of Days. But now there's this lamb that is now sharing the throne with this God. I mean, and the parallels, I mean, you heard them, I think, if you remember last episode, like the same worship that was given to the one who sits on the throne is now given to the lamb. It's like in parallel. So it's unmistakable, the claim that's being made here. Now, the idea of the lamb that was slain comes from the book of Exodus, where, enslaved to Egypt, Israel awaited deliverance. 9 plagues have been brought against the Egyptians and their gods. The 10th one is the doozy. That is against Pharaoh himself, where the firstborn will be taken because Egypt took Israel's firstborn males.
Yeah.
So it's a like for like sort of justice punishment. And they were to start a whole new calendar on the first day of a certain month. And on the 10th day, they were then to find lambs that were spotless. And they were to examine them until the 14th day of that new first month, when all of the members of the community of Israel would slaughter these lambs at twilight. Then they are to take some of the blood and put it on the sides and tops of the door frames of the houses where they eat the lambs. The same night, they are to eat the meat roasted over a fire, along with bitter herbs. All of this was massively symbolic, and many Jews still do this today. This is how you are to eat it, with your cloak tucked into your belt, your sandals on your feet, your staff in your hand. Eat it in haste. It's the Lord's Passover. So this angel of destruction comes, liberates Egypt, and they leave immediately. That's why they ate it in haste. But the idea of the slain lamb, this is where we first meet this idea that somehow the lamb sacrifice provided tangible deliverance. It wasn't some spiritual, otherworldly thing. It was, no, we were delivered from our enemies.
So with the no one on earth is worthy or capable of opening the scrolls, right? And as you said, that's a Caesar slam. Caesar slam.
In heaven,
that's
on earth.
That was going to be my next question.
Under the earth and on the sea.
So heavenly creatures, or what is it trying to say with that? Like the earth one makes sense. It's tying into a political thing. The heaven one, what is that?
Okay, so heaven in the Bible, remember, heaven isn't a place you go when you die.
Right.
Heaven is God's space. So the universe is a 3-tiered universe, all throughout Genesis and into the New Testament period. You have the waters above, the waters below, the land, and then the deep. The waters above and below are different from the deep. The deep is Sheol, it's the pit, it's death, it's the grave. The waters above are protected, are kept from us by something called the rakia, which is the firmament. It's like we live in a dome. And the reason the sky is blue is because there's water up there.
Right.
And the reason there's oceans is because there's water down here. And out of both of those waters, land emerged. So you have the heavens, you have the earth, and you have kind of under the earth or the deep. So this is a very Hebrew way of saying no one in the universe outside of the Lamb is worthy. So there is no other spiritual being, there is no earthly person, there is no one who has died, there is no creature anywhere at all worthy to open the scroll.
Does that include God, who is sitting on the throne prior to this statement?
No, because God is holding the scroll. He's obviously written the scroll.
Okay, so
and is holding it, and he bestows it upon the Lamb.
Yeah, so I think this is important for where I imagine you're heading. Maybe I'm wrong, but to clarify, like what it is that makes the Lamb the qualified.
Yes. So, in chapter 4, what makes the one on the throne worthy is that he's prayed for his creatorness. By your will, all things have been created. Right. So one of the hymns is about the fact that God has created everything and sustains everything. Mm-hmm. Here, the direct idea is you are worthy to take the scroll open its seals because you were slain and your blood has purchased people.
Yeah.
So God is presented here as creator and sustainer. Jesus is presented here as redeemer. And almost, there'll be priestly and kingly images applied to Jesus all throughout this too, right?
Right.
So, and obviously there are massive Trinitarian implications because the same worship was given to God is now being shared with, and the one who sits on the throne and the Lamb are two different beings, and yet they share divinity in some way.
Yeah.
So it's of course mind-blowing and incredibly symbolic, but the idea that the biggest punch of the book of Revelation is I saw a lamb when I expected a lion.
A lion, yeah. And that's just so important. Like as we do the daisy chain, It's just like this idea of the victory in defeat, but what is the victory over? Yes. And when we get into Gombus and the, agents of sin and death and those things kind of entering in, and what victory looks like now and not yet, within John looking at this crazy picture. And
it's so, it is, well, we'll get to it. All right.
There's those things that as we have such an audience has deconstructed or is in various levels of questioning or seeking truth or mystery, every time one of these little nuggets of like, hey, this was a core tenet even of our faith growing up, this idea of victory in death. But now it's like we have to, so if we're holding on to, as we test things and learn more, there's certain nuggets and rocks that we can test and say, oh, yeah, I'm going to keep this one.
That's it.
But I want to understand it in the context of the larger picture rather than just taking it as a, like we started joking around with rhetorical ideas and that kind of stuff. Like there, the lamb was slain, was victorious. That's a great statement, but there's a lot more to it than just announcing victory through loss, which is already confusing. It's already a conundrum.
Totally. Massive conundrum.
Yeah. But then it makes sense for why he's the only one that can open it. That's what I wanted
to... Yeah. That's it.
That's what I wanted to... Yeah.
Way to crush it right there at the very end.
Yeah.
Timothy. That's it. That all of the Old Testament promises about heaven coming to earth, not just heaven, but the reign of heaven, the rule of God over the earth again, that's going to come. And it comes in a very political and real and social sense. And it comes through sacrifice.
Yeah.
And again, now to Christians, of course, we've heard this ever since we've heard the Good Friday and Easter story and blah, 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 blah. But to, again, if you're a little bitty house church of 15 people and you're being invited to conquer, and you're like, well, how in the world is that going to happen?
Right, totally.
And then this is the image you're given of what it looks like to conquer.
It's the same today. This idea that you must conquer and be victorious, and then you're handed an image of sacrifice and defeat or whatever, and then weakness. No one wants to live with that, or no one wants to reconcile those things. We just want to be confrontational and victorious.
Oh, there are massive culture war implications.
You know what else, too? You had a great conversation with Sky about Old Testament violence and this, like, how did you put it? Like, God is revealed in the Old Testament, but it's not a full revelation until Jesus. Jesus is the full revelation of who God is, right? Does that sound kind of like, in a very short summary? So, but then with some of the stuff about sacrifice, things that God required or revealed in all these different scenarios and how they're playing out here, for example, like you gave the example of sacrificing these lambs, and it happens on a specific day and they're spotless and blameless and they're sacrificed. And so it's like looking at some of these, I don't want to say accommodations, but they're like,
no, I think they are accommodations.
Well, like these small revelations of that God was providing from the fall forward until Jesus.
Yep.
All of a sudden start to get more interesting when you're parked in a book like this. That's or something where it's like, okay, maybe God was doing something that we did not understand.
Yeah.
But there was something to it that was building towards this victory, which offers freedom to humanity.
Totally. Because the sacrifices weren't for God.
Totally.
Like the Old Testament makes that clear.
But at the same time, we kind of operate under that understanding sometimes. Like it's a debt scenario.
Right. Yeah, just wait, dude. There's so much more coming. I mean, yeah. You're like previewing so many things.
That's what I do, remember?
I know, it's brilliant.
But there's I think that little piece of clarity as you're getting into this section right here to hold on to some of those things as you move forward in here, I think will be important.
Well, this is okay. Yes. Let me just do a little more.
Yes, I'll be quiet.
And then never be quiet. The lamb has 7 horns and eyes. Horns in the Bible are power. Eyes are knowledge.
It's hard not to picture like where the wild things are when you go through this.
Totally. Good Lord. Yes. Or even the angels that we met last week with, eyes under their wings. And,
totally.
My mom had eyes in the back of her head.
That's
so
right.
I can kind of picture that a little bit. He took the scroll, and then the living creatures fall down, the elders fall down, they throw crowns. The exact same worship that was given to God is now given to the Lamb.
Right.
So much so that the last hymn in this is written to both, to him who sits on the throne and to the Lamb. Right? So Christologically, about like the identity of Jesus, we've moved from a Galilean carpenter to one who shares the throne of the universe with God Almighty.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a big deal. And then when there's this new song that's sung, and we don't have time to look at this, but if you go back and you read Daniel 7, the enthronement of the Son of Man in Daniel 7, almost all of this language is found in Daniel 7. And bro, it's just so brilliant. This isn't new stuff. This is like just the recapitulation of all of these images and pictures and patterns around Jesus of Nazareth in a way that would cause these tiny churches to be hopeful and resistant. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that Rome would be judged, that they would be vindicated. And not just Rome, but every empire since. It's so incredibly profound. Now, I got a couple of like big points, and then we want to ask the question: how does this square with the violence of Revelation? And because there's one very violent passage in Revelation 19 that we have to deal with. So, just a couple of big points. It's the Lamb's conquering. So the Lamb's victory has been manifested not in raw power associated with a lion, but with the power of faithfulness to death. So it wasn't just his sacrifice, but it was the faithfulness to the way of God that led to his sacrifice. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. It's not just that he died, but he was faithful to the why, the how, the when of his dying. And in that way reveals the character of Yahweh. Like that's the idea. And I want to quote Richard Hayes, who's one of my favorite New Testament scholars. He said, this is the kind of thing that gives me chills when I read this stuff. When the slaughtered lamb is seen in the midst of the divine throne, the meaning is that Christ's sacrificial death belongs to the way that God rules the world. This is how God uses power. This is how God expresses sovereignty. This is how God wins, right? Yeah. And if this is how God rules the world, then as co-rulers with God, this is how we rule the world and achieve victory.
So, right? Because you and I were talking about how I went to the fair last night, and when you walk in, there is first the Republican that's running for Congress or for our district or whatever. They had a huge Republican booth, and they had all like the Trump posters and Trump hats and Trump flags and yada yada yada. Right next to that, I swear, was like a Christian nationalism booth, like with shirts that are crosses and flags and Jesus for president, but still with like American imagery. Like that's literally what the booth was for. And it's so interesting in this language, exactly what you just said.
Yeah.
This idea that we're fighting for victory with violence and bold words and that kind of stuff. And it's like, man, could not be more off the mark.
Could not be. No. And I'm all for wanting to see human beings flourish. And so we have a part to play in the partisanship of our day. Mm-hmm. But how is power construed? How is it? Hayes goes on later. He says, the Lamb is both the source and the shape of our salvation. In other words, it's what it looks like to be faithful to God. To be faithful to God is to trust that the way God wields power is the way that the universe works. That it's a lot. And that through loss and lament, and again, Jesus wasn't passive. He's not weak. I mean, he's not sitting there saying, he just says, remember, he says, hey guys, just so we're clear, I could call down 72,000 angels like the ones you just described. No one's taken my life. I give it freely. Yeah. Like, he has it.
I can do violence. I can win through violence.
And he says that. He says, even to Pilate, he says, my kingdom is not of this world. And the predominant point illustration that he makes there is that if it were, my followers would fight. That's what kingdoms do of the world. But his is not, and so they don't.
We should do a non-fronts on this.
Dude. Okay.
Unpacking all this kind of stuff and like...
Let us... Yeah.
It's kind of Christianity 101 to a certain extent, right? Like, yeah, totally. Exactly.
But, we still have, and I still have a couple of points we got to make here. Because there's a bunch of violent imagery coming that involves Jesus. And you're like, and so guys like Mark Driscoll and other just horrible interpreters of the Bible will say, but Jesus came the first time meek and mild, but now he's coming with a sword and he's going to spill blood.
Yeah. Yep.
And that is such BS. All right. So I'm going to go through this quick. We meet an army of the Lord. And again, it's one of these things where John hears something, and then so he hears about the army, and then he sees them. And in 7, after this I looked, and there before me was a great multitude no one could count. So first of all, there's an army that is described. It's numbered like the census, the 144,000. Like it actually turns out to be the divine army. And you realize, and it's like a census from Numbers 1 and 2. And then, so he hears about this, and then he sees this great multitude. So we know the 144,000 is symbolic because it represents a great multitude when he looks. That no one could count. So he's just said, hey, we counted the multitude and it was this. And then he says, well, no one can count this. Because he hears about 144,000, but then he sees a multitude that no one could count. And they're from every nation, tribe, people, language, standing before the throne and before the Lamb. They were wearing white robes and were holding palm branches in their hands. And they were saying, salvation belongs to our God who sits on the throne and to the Lamb. Angels were falling down, saying, amen, praise and glory, wisdom, thanks, honor, strength, power to our God forever and ever. And then one of the elders asked me, these in white robes, who are they and where did they come from? And John said, well, I don't know. And he
said, why are you asking me?
These are the ones who've come out of the Great Tribulation. Now, Great Tribulation is a 7-year period that happens once.
Tribulation
this
force.
This is whenever empire oppresses the people of God. They have washed their robes and made them white in the blood of the Lamb. Okay, so the blood of the Lamb, like the Passover lamb, gets put on to these white-robed figures. And why? Why do they get the blood of the Lamb? Because they were faithful to death, just like the Lamb was. So this is an army of martyrs, people who died for their faith. All right? So we meet the royal army, and the last image that we're given is that of like a conquesting, weapon-fueled, militaristic tribe. Instead, they're waging war with palm branches, worship, and they're standing before the throne with robes dipped in blood, and it's the Lamb's blood because they were willing to be faithful the way the Lamb was.
So they're armed with palm branches and songs, and they are drenched in the blood of their defeated leader.
Yes. Now, then a war breaks out in chapter 12 between the dragon and his followers and the lamb and his followers. And then, and we'll talk about that because it's referencing the birth and coming of Jesus, and yet it's referencing other things too, all at the same time. But notice, I heard a loud voice say, once the dragon was hurled to the earth, now have come the salvation and the power and the kingdom of our God and the authority of his Messiah. For the accuser, this dragon, of our brothers and sisters who accuses them before God day and night has been hurled down. They, so it's a plural, they, this army, triumphed over him how? By the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony. And what was their testimony? That they did not love their lives so much as to shrink from death. So we get a battle scene where the army of God wins by the word of their testimony and the blood, the sacrifice of the Lamb. Okay, so I want you to see that anytime the blood of the Lamb is mentioned, that's what we're fighting with, right? Now, the big, awful picture that Driscoll and others use, and so horribly warp, it infuriates me to no end. Because if you actually did any contextual study, it's saying the opposite of what they say that it's saying. But it comes in Revelation 19. I saw heaven standing open, and there before me was a white horse, whose rider is called Faithful and True. Names given to Jesus earlier in the book. With justice, he judges and wages war. All right, we're finally going to get it, right? Jesus is now going to kick some bass. Jesus is coming back. Jesus has got a sword. Let's go. His eyes are like blazing fire. Excuse me. On his head are many crowns. Again, Old Testament imagery are dripping here. He has a name written on him that no one knows but he himself. He is dressed in a robe dipped in blood, and his name is the Word of God. The armies of heaven were following him, riding out on white horses and dressed in fine linen, white and clean. Dude, finally. Coming out of his mouth is a sharp sword with which to strike down the nations. He will rule them with an iron scepter. This comes from Psalm 2. He treads on the winepress of the fury of the wrath of God Almighty. That comes from Isaiah 63. Isaiah 63 is such a violent image that the image that's used is of a powerful figure trampling the blood of his enemy so much. It's like a grape presser who is stomping on grapes and getting the blood, the juice of the grapes all over his garment. So the image here is that Jesus comes and like he's stomping all over his enemies. And on his robe and on his thigh, he has his name written, King of Kings and Lord of Lords.
It's a painful place to get a tattoo on your thigh.
Bro, I've always said that. And I saw an angel standing in the sun who cried in a loud voice to all the birds flying in midair, "Come, gather together for the great supper of God, so that you may eat the flesh of kings and generals and the mighty of horses, their riders, the flesh of all people, free and slave, great and small." There's going to be so much carnage, in other words, that the birds are going to come and feast on the flesh of the defeated enemies. Then I saw the beast and the kings of the earth and their armies gathered together to wage war against the rider on the horse and his army. But the beast was captured, and with it the false prophet who'd performed the signs on its behalf. The two of them were thrown alive into the fiery lake of burning sulfur. The rest were killed with the sword coming out of the mouth of the rider on the horse, and all the birds gorged themselves on his flesh. And so, doggone it, finally Jesus shows up like he oughta.
Like he oughta.
Like he oughta.
You oughta know.
So, yep, I understood that reference. So, it's funny because anytime we meet Jesus in the book of Revelation, What blood? The blood that's always on his robe is whose?
His.
His. And it's fascinating. He has blood on his robe prior to the battle.
Correct.
Which is super interesting, right? So how is he waging war? Well, it's with this sword coming out of his mouth. Well, that's an Isaiah image. And that just means his words. What is he speaking? I don't know. I mean, you have two references to his identity. He's faithful and true. He has a name no one knows but him. On his robe and thigh, he's King of Kings and Lord of Lords. Like, absolutely, man. This is, it could be his identity that he's speaking. I don't know. It could be some prophetic judgment.
But it provokes exactly that, right? Like, it's, again, using metaphorical language. Likely Jesus does not have it wouldn't be super, I don't know. A sword coming out of his mouth wouldn't be the best.
This is an Old Testament metaphor.
So then you have to take that step back and be like, okay,
He's already got blood on his robe, his own blood. So this is the slain Jesus, right? Who we've already been told has an army that is conquered by the word of their testimony and the blood of the Lamb. And in this battle, there is no actual fighting. Right? The army doesn't do anything.
It's an important feature.
And Jesus doesn't do anything. He just comes as the Psalm 2 king, right? In his glory. And he speaks something. And the thing that Revelation does is it uses all sorts of military imagery, but it subverts it.
Yeah.
And it does this in chapter 5 by saying, here's the lion and the root of David, military leader, but I saw a lamb. So here's the conquering king, but it's a robe dipped in his own blood before the battle, and the sword that's coming out of his mouth is from an Isaiah picture. Right? So to the uninitiated, you're just going, oh yeah, man, he's coming and we're going to eat. And you picture this field of human beings that have just been slaughtered by Jesus. And that totally, utterly violates a bunch of things. One of them is the idea that Jesus is always conquering through his blood and sacrifice.
Yeah.
Never through power over people.
What was the one example we got of that when he was living, right? When Peter draws a sword and
he says, dude, enough.
Yeah, no.
Come on, man. If you want to,
what we're doing.
Right. Or even my kingdom's not of this world. If it were, we'd fight.
Yeah.
So the image is of the eschatological judge speaking and bringing his kingdom to the earth. And that there are those who oppose his coming who will be destroyed in one sense or another. And there are actually images all throughout Revelation that have nothing to do with eternal fire, although there are 2 lake of fire references, which we'll talk about. That'll be juicy. Or maybe 3. But there are these images of destruction where the kingdom comes and those who don't want to be a part of it cease being. But what Jesus isn't doing, and this is, again, I haven't done it justice, but the motif of Jesus as military conqueror that gets inverted into, but through his sacrifice.
Right.
This is where that imagery is most importantly to be considered. Because Jesus is victorious over all the nations and the beasts and everything else. But how? It's not like he's nonviolent until, God says, hey, go for it.
Yeah.
I know you've wanted to.
Right.
The fact that he has blood on his robe shows it's the lamb the whole way through.
Right. So then that becomes interesting as a lens to look back through, just to reference your conversation again with the Old Testament violence and different things, that how we read and see that stuff, and also just the laments of, like, as a peaceful nation, advocating for human flourishing and lamenting, please come, because we're obsessed with violence, we're obsessed with dominance, we're obsessed with power, and it's hard to exist as a pacifist within a world that is just has bloodlust.
Absolutely. And that's why we can't shy away, and the Bible doesn't, of using military imagery. Blood, conquer, sword, feasting on carcasses. But it's the continual subversion of that into, well, how did that victory come?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like the whole thing together is, it
That's
forces you to wrestle backwards.
That's exactly right. Because this is how the Lamb has always been victorious.
So then it's like watching The Sixth Sense, and you get to the end, you're like, wait, what?
Yes.
And then you have to go back and rewatch everything to see.
That's right. That's right. Now, I mean, man, there's so much more to be said. It's like, yeah, it's like The Sixth Sense, in the sense that if you don't get to this last book,
It's a totally different movie.
Exactly. It's like, well, I thought God was bloodthirsty and violent too.
Yeah.
And then you're like, no. Actually, if you want to know what God's like, I mean, the one who sits on the throne and the Lamb, that's what God is like.
It's so important, because this is like what this, you want to list causes of doubt or causes of frustration within faith. And how often is Old Testament violence or God being a violent God near the top of that list?
Yeah.
So,
and there is, I mean, but there is, I mean, like Ananias and Sapphira, they get zapped.
yeah, but within what's the like, you know what? It's just, we've been waging war in the name of God for generations.
Boy, amen to that, bro.
It's just,
and yeah,
it's a lot to unpack, and then restructure your understanding of everything.
Yes.
It's just a lot.
Yes.
Like, you just, as people are trying to find an authentic faith and trying to lean into being a lifelong learner and trying to understand, or at least pursue after what it is that God is advocating for.
Yeah.
I get it. I get how hard that is. I get how daunting and terrifying letting go of some concrete things that you've been handed to try to see God and what God's trying to actually do. That can be a really daunting task in, today. I can't speak for every generation, but it's like, I can see the lament and the fear and why and what it's rooted in, and letting go of so much to understand, to more fully understand who God is.
Yeah.
You just see it.
Yep.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
But it's so much more compelling.
Well, compelling and then demanding, right? Because if it's not just he is the source, as Hayes said, of our salvation, but the shape.
That's what a great name, Revelation.
That's it. Yeah. What
a great unveiling and a great,
That's it. That's the thing. The unveiling of Jesus as the cosmic ruler, and
all the implications that come with that,
in the shape of a slain lamb.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh my Lord, wow. Then you read the whole story again thinking, I thought God was this bloodthirsty jerk. And you're like, nope. Now, we've talked so much about Old Testament violence. I don't want to revisit all of that. But in terms of like this move between what he heard, the lion, and what he sees, the lamb, is the key to understanding the judgments and the rest of the book.
Yeah, totally.
So, we wanted to just like land solidly on chapter 5 for just one episode to go.
So funny. I remember reading chapter 4 in worship. Like when I was a youth pastor or something, like I would do these 2-hour worship nights where we would just get together in a room in a circle and we would just sing for a couple hours, but we would read that chapter without any context or understanding of what it, just because it was spectacular.
Sure. Totally.
There's all these crazy things happening, there's colors and rainbows and crystals and all this stuff. And it's like, this is, hey guys, just listen to these words and worship God through this. And it's just funny.
And what a legitimate way to use that too. I mean, that's, I'll never forget the first time I read those words and was like, oh my Lord.
It's pretty wild.
Yeah, I don't understand this at all. And that's why we're, beautifully unfinished products along the whole journey, not just the beginning part, But anyway, so we're moving to the individual who's listening who said, please get going.
Yeah.
We're going.
Finish this before God actually returns.
Well, yeah, it's like George R.R. Martin. At some point, you just keel over before you.
Just let us some showrunners finish it off and terribly
Seriously,
finish it.
You might as well. I mean, he clearly has no interest in getting this done.
Apparently not. He's made his money.
Yeah, it's 10 years, and God bless him. He killed it. The only thing he's going to do if he finishes it is disappoint people.
Totally.
So
100%.
If you're going to disappoint them, might as well go out with them wanting more.
My favorite book series is the Dark Tower series by Stephen King.
Oh,
and when he finally got to the 8th book, and like Roland gets to the tower, which is what you've been reading
Spoilers.
This whole time, but he even stops the book right there and says, "Hey, don't read anymore. Stop right here. There's no way that the hype in your brain from because it was a 20, 25 year whatever.
Yeah.
He's just like, it's not going to live up to it. I'm going to finish it. You can proceed, but it's not going to live up to whatever you built up in your head. So maybe just stop here." He made it to the tower.
I love that. I
it's
love
like,
it.
yep.
And did you keep reading?
Of course I did. I read that series multiple times.
Well, and was it good?
I mean, yeah, that would be a real spoiler, but it serves a purpose within a larger narrative. Okay. So it's not like a Star Wars ending that people want. It was more nuanced than that. Talk about a guy that finishes things. That guy can't stop. I just got his new book in the mail yesterday.
What's
it's called Holly.
Ooh.
For those who read The Outsider or watched the HBO show, she was a prominent character in that, as well as another series.
I read, you know what? I did read The Outsider.
So has some psychic abilities and was an important character in that series.
Oh, so
she's kind of become an important character to him.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we started.
Let's talk about Ahsoka.
I haven't, dude, I wait till all those are out and then I watch.
I bought a bootleg. I bought 2 bootlegs online. I bought a bootleg that somebody despecialized the original trilogy. So they took out all the added stuff and made a 4K version on disc so that you can watch the original films as they were.
Yeah.
But they were having a sale, and I saw that somebody did a fan cut of the Obi-Wan series and made it into just a 2-hour movie. So they just took the most important elements. Yeah. So I haven't watched it yet, but
that would have been good. Yeah, I think in blasphemy against blasphemies, but I think we're dumping Disney Plus, man. They just raised their prices again, and it's like, I didn't watch Mando 3. Like, Andor was good.
Andor was great.
But, I mean, they've just so screwed up the whole thing. I mean, like, how do you come back? I mean, they should just wait 10 years, you know, and then get us all nostalgic again or something. But, oh, my goodness, I can't think of another parallel where
drop Disney and then go get Paramount Plus, and you can watch every Star Trek show and movie they've ever made.
That's what my brother says. My brother says Picard is really good.
It's different.
Yeah. I love no one cares. I forget we're still recording. I loved the J.J. Abrams reboot of
Yeah, I guess
Trek.
they had big plans for that, and then they made 3 of them, and then
we're out.
Quentin Tarantino was supposed to make a 4th one with that cast. He had some weird pitch that they were like, "Oh, this could be interesting."
Dude, that would be amazing.
Be something.
Yeah, or Wes Anderson. That'd be interesting too.
That'd be amazing.
All right, well.
There you have it, folks.
In between random conversations, I hope there was some good stuff.
In between our random convos was a lion and a lamb.
Yes, there it is.
Thanks for tuning in to 98.6 LAMB.
The Lamb.
It's not far off. What's the Christian channel here? The Fish, or what used to be called that? Yeah.
The Fish. At least when I was in Southern California, that was the fish. Yeah, the lamb. I used to, no one cares, but when I would play, I would play video games and like shooter games where you're killing other people, like, you know, like
Bloodlust.
No. But I would call myself Aslan, and it was a great way to identify what other gamers were Christians, because it would be like Aslan killed you.
Yeah.
And so what made me think of this? I have no idea. There was a point, and now there's not. I had somewhere I was going, bro. Liam
Neeson's?
Oh, that's good. All right, we're done. We're so done. God bless you all. Thanks for putting up with us.
Good night. Thank you for listening to this conversation. Voxology is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that is supported by listeners just like yourself. If you'd like to partner with us, you can do so at patreon.com/Voxology. You can also join the community and hang out and chat with us on the socials. Facebook.com/Voxology Podcast and on Instagram @Voxology. Thank you for walking the long road with us.